My world shattered when I suspected my wife, Sarah, was cheating. We've been together since we were 16, high school sweethearts in Maine. A girls' retreat left her changed, polished, distant. Then, a late night shower, something she never does. I knew something was wrong. In Boston, I broke down, confessing my fears. She denied it, but her eyes betrayed her. A lingerie set in her suitcase for a Chicago conference confirmed it. She admitted to an affair with Tom, a coworker, starting at a summer barbecue. They met in secret, parking lots, a cabin, even during her work trips. She swore it was just sex, not love. I was devastated, tracking her every move in Chicago. She promised to end it, but didn't. At home, she confessed everything, every encounter, every lie. I'm torn between love and betrayal. We planned a Vermont trip to rebuild, but doubt lingers. Can I trust her again? Will our 31-year love survive? Stay with us to find out how this story ends, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm 47, and my world cracked open last autumn. My wife, Sarah, also 47, has been my anchor since we were 16, high school sweethearts in a small coastal town in Maine. We were each other's first everything, first love, first kiss, first heartbreak, and for me, she's still my only. Our life, built over 31 years, felt like a sturdy ship, weathered but reliable. We have 2 kids, a modest house near the harbor, and a rhythm I thought was unshakable. But subtle ripples turned into waves, and I found myself drowning in suspicion. It began just before Thanksgiving. Sarah announced a girls' retreat with 2 colleagues to a cabin in the White Mountains. She'd done these trips before, so I didn't question it. But when she returned, something was off. Sarah's always been a natural beauty, her style effortlessly hers. I've always loved that. But this time, she came back, different. Her usual earthy vibe was replaced with a polished, almost performative look, her body groomed in a way that felt jarring. She mentioned the cabin had a sauna, and I brushed it off, thinking she wanted to feel fresh. But the unease lingered, a splinter under my skin. The second clue hit harder. A week later, Sarah came home late from a work dinner. It was nearly midnight, and instead of collapsing into bed, she headed straight for the shower. Sarah never showers at night. It's one of those quirks I've found endearing. She's a morning person, rituals and all. I stood outside the bathroom door, listening to the water run, my stomach twisting. That was when I knew, with 95% certainty, something was wrong. My mind raced, but I froze. How do you confront the person you've built your life with? What do you say? I sat on my suspicions for days, paralyzed, until we took a family trip to Boston for a weekend getaway with our kids. The city's buzz, street performers in Quincy Market, the crisp November air, should have been a distraction, but I was unraveling. One night, while the kids slept in our hotel room, I broke. Sarah caught me crying, headphones on, listening to a playlist of old jazz standards we used to dance to. The song was My Funny Valentine, and the lyrics hit like a blade. She asked what was wrong, and I couldn't hold it in. I told her I suspected she was cheating. She denied it, her face a mix of shock and hurt, and for a moment, I wondered if I'd misread everything. She held my hand, promised it was nothing, and I wanted to believe her. But her eyes didn't meet mine the way they used to. The truth seeped out a week later, just before Sarah was set to leave for a work conference in Chicago. I was helping her pack, more out of habit than anything, when I found a black lace lingerie set tucked into her suitcase. It wasn't something she'd worn for me. My heart sank, and when I confronted her, she crumbled. The dam broke, and the story spilled out in fragments, each sharper than the last. It started at her company's summer barbecue in July. A coworker, Tom, had been overly friendly, sitting close at a picnic table, his hand brushing her leg. She said it made her uncomfortable, but she didn't stop him. Later, by the bonfire, he kissed her. And she kissed him back. She swore it was a mistake. But then admitted the truth. That night they'd gone further. In her car, in the parking lot of a beachside bar, they'd crossed the line. I felt sick, picturing it. The woman I'd loved for 31 years, my Sarah, with someone else in a place we'd driven past 1,000 times. The girls' retreat wasn't with coworkers. It was with Tom. Her boss, who owned the cabin, had lent it to them for the weekend. They'd spent 3 days together, tangled in a secret I'd been too trusting to see. The late night, work dinner? That was him too. When she confessed Tom would be at the Chicago conference, my world tilted. She swore she'd end it there, that it was just physical. "It's not love," she said, tears streaming down her face. "It's not you. But it was me, wasn't it? I was the one left shattered. We'd been each other's everything since we were kids. The idea that she could want someone else, that I wasn't enough, was a knife to the chest. I begged her to stay home from the conference, but it was mandatory for work, and the confession came too late. Her flight was the next morning. In desperation, I said something I regret. "If you have to go, get it out of your system and come back to me." It was a plea, not permission, but I hate myself for saying it. She promised to break it off, to come back to us. I clung to that promise like a lifeline. In Chicago, I was a wreck. I tracked her on a shared location app, watching her dot move through the city, imagining the worst. Our FaceTime calls were brief, her voice distant. When she came home, she said it was over. She told Tom I knew that it was their last time. But I needed the truth, all of it. I don't know if it was a mistake, but I couldn't live with half answers. So I pushed, and she unraveled the rest. Since the barbecue, they'd been meeting regularly. Parking lots, hotel rooms, the cabin. She admitted they'd been intimate every night of the conference, even after promising to end it. Tom was married, with kids just like us. Sarah said it was never about love, just excitement. She'd lost 40 pounds over the past year, thanks to a new medication, and Tom's attention felt intoxicating. He was different, she said. Rougher, more commanding. He'd pull her hair, pin her wrists, things I'd never done. "It was just sex," she kept saying, as if that made it hurt less. But it was personal. It was humiliating. I've always been gentle, loving, because that's who I am. Now I wondered if that was my failure. I'm destroyed. Sarah says she loves me, doesn't want a divorce. She's ashamed, terrified her parents or brother will find out. She's apologetic, endlessly so, but I can't look at her without feeling like I'm suffocating. I love her, God, I love her, but she feels like a stranger. I catch myself wondering if I should be more like him, less tender, more aggressive. It's a betrayal of who I am, but I'm lost. We haven't been intimate since this came to light. Part of it is health. She admitted they didn't always use protection, and I insisted on tests. Part of it is me. I can't bring myself to touch her. Our 25th anniversary is coming up, and we've planned a trip to a quiet inn in Vermont to rebuild. I've got a therapist lined up, but the earliest appointment is weeks away. I'm living on nerves, my body wired with stress, my heart heavy with grief. People might call me weak for staying, but Sarah is my world. My parents are gone, my sister lives across the country, and our kids are my everything. Leaving feels like tearing my life apart, but staying feels like betraying myself. I pushed for every detail, and it broke us both. She didn't want to share it all, but I needed to know. One night, she asked, "Haven't you ever just wanted to sleep with someone else?" I told her the truth. I've felt desire, but I'd never act on it. Never could. Until October, I would have sworn she felt the same. Our sex life was steady, maybe not fireworks, but consistent, once or twice a month, sometimes more. It was enough for me. Now I'm haunted by the idea that she craved something I couldn't give her, something wilder, riskier. We're trying to piece ourselves back together, but it's fragile. If this trip doesn't work, if we can't find our way back, I don't know if we'll survive. My heart can't bear the thought, but my body's screaming that I'm not enough. The weeks leading to our Vermont trip were a blur of tension and silence. At home, we tiptoed around each other, careful not to disturb the fragile truce we built. The kids, oblivious to the storm, filled the house with their chatter, school projects, soccer games, teenage drama. I envied their ignorance. Sarah and I played our parts, parents, partners, a united front. But at night, when the house was quiet, the weight of her betrayal pressed down on me. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying her confessions, wondering if I'd ever feel whole again. I started noticing things I hadn't before. Sarah's phone was always face down now, a habit she'd never had. She'd linger in the kitchen after dinner, scrolling through messages, her face unreadable. I didn't want to snoop. God knows I demanded too much truth, but the doubt gnawed at me. Was it really over with Tom? Or was I still the fool, trusting her promises? One evening, I couldn't take it anymore. The kids were at a sleepover, and Sarah was in the living room, curled up with a book. I sat across from her, my heart pounding. Is it really done? I asked, my voice quieter than I meant it to be. She looked up, startled, then set the book down. Yes, she said firmly. I told you, I ended it in Chicago. But her eyes flicked away, just for a second, and that was enough to keep the doubt alive. I didn't push further. I was too tired, too raw. But I made a mental note to watch closer. The Vermont trip loomed like a deadline. I wanted it to be a reset, a chance to rediscover the Sarah I'd fallen in love with, the girl who'd laugh until she cried at my terrible jokes, who'd dance with me in our tiny apartment to scratchy vinyl records. But I was terrified it would expose the truth, that we were too broken to fix. I spent hours planning the trip, booking a cozy inn nestled in the Green Mountains, arranging a private dinner by a fireplace, even packing a playlist of our old favorites. I wanted to believe we could rebuild, but the fear was relentless. The drive to Vermont was quiet, the kids with my sister for the weekend. Sarah stared out the window, the autumn leaves a riot of red and gold. I tried to make small talk, but every word felt forced. Remember our first trip together? I said, glancing at her. That camping disaster in Acadia? She smiled faintly. Yeah. You forgot the tent poles, and we slept under the stars. For a moment, it felt like us again. But then her phone buzzed, and the moment shattered. She didn't check it, but the tension crept back in. The inn was everything I'd hoped, warm, rustic, with a view of rolling hills. Our room had a four-poster bed and a window overlooking a stream. I wanted to feel romantic, to sweep her into my arms like we were 20 again. But when I looked at her, unpacking her sweater, all I could see was that lingerie, the one she'd packed for him. I excused myself to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face, trying to shake the image. That first night, we had dinner in the inn's dining room, a candlelit table by a crackling fire. Sarah wore a dress I loved, deep blue, the one she'd worn to our 20th anniversary. She looked beautiful, but there was a distance in her eyes. We talked about safe things, the kids, her job, the weather. I wanted to ask the hard questions, but I didn't want to ruin the night. After dessert, we walked back to our room, and she reached for my hand. It was the first time she'd touched me like that since the truth came out. My heart raced, torn between longing and fear. In bed, she curled against me, her head on my chest. I'm so sorry, she whispered, her voice breaking. I never meant to hurt you. I wanted to believe her, but the words felt hollow. I held her anyway, because I didn't know what else to do. We talked, really talked, for the first time in weeks. She admitted the affair had been an escape, a way to feel alive after years of routine. She swore she loved me, that she wanted us to work. I told her how broken I felt, how I didn't know if I could trust her again. It wasn't a resolution, but it was a start. The next day, we hiked a trail near the inn, the air crisp and sharp. The physical exertion felt good, a way to burn off the cortisol that had been fueling me for weeks. Sarah seemed lighter, laughing when I tripped over a root, teasing me like she used to. For a few hours, I could almost forget. But then her phone rang, and she silenced it quickly, her face tightening. Work, she said, but I didn't believe her. The doubt was back, stronger than ever. That night, I couldn't hold it in. Over dinner, I asked point blank, Are you still talking to him? She froze, her fork halfway to her mouth. No, she said, but her voice was too quick, too defensive. I pressed, my voice low but firm. Sarah, I need the truth. All of it. She set her fork down, her hands trembling. And then, in a whisper, she admitted it. Tom had texted her a few times since Chicago. She hadn't responded, she swore, but she hadn't blocked him either. I didn't want to make it a big deal, she said, tears welling. I thought it would just stop. I felt like I'd been punched. You should have told me, I said, my voice shaking. You should have blocked him the second you got home. She nodded, crying now, promising she'd cut all contact. I wanted to believe her, but the trust we'd been clawing back felt shattered again. We went to bed in silence, the space between us wider than ever. The next morning, I woke early and took a walk alone, the Vermont mist clinging to the hills. I needed clarity. I loved Sarah, more than I could put into words, but love wasn't enough if I couldn't trust her. I thought about our kids, our home, the life we built. I thought about the boy I was at 16, promising her forever. But I also thought about myself, the man I'd become, and whether I could live with this pain forever. When I got back, Sarah was waiting, her eyes red from crying. She handed me her phone, open to her messages. She'd blocked Tom's number, deleted every trace of him. "I don't want to lose you," she said, her voice raw. "I'll do whatever it takes." It wasn't a magic fix, but it was something. For the first time, I saw her fighting for us, not just apologizing. The rest of the trip was a slow thaw. We talked more, peeling back layers of hurt and resentment. I admitted my insecurities, how I felt like I wasn't enough compared to Tom. She cried, saying it was never about me, that she'd been chasing a version of herself she thought she'd lost. We made love on the last night, tentative and vulnerable, but real. It wasn't a cure, but it was a step. Back home, we started counseling. The therapist, a kind woman with a knack for cutting through bullshit, helped us navigate the wreckage. Sarah took full responsibility, no excuses. I learned to voice my pain without demanding every detail, to let go of the images that haunted me. It's been months, and we're still rebuilding. Some days I feel like we're us again, laughing over coffee, planning our daughter's graduation. Other days, the doubt creeps in, and I have to remind myself to breathe. Our sex life is different now, more honest. We talk about what we want, what we need. I'm still me, gentle, loving, but I'm learning to let go of the fear that I'm not enough. Sarah's changed too. She's more open, more present. She's cut ties with anyone who enabled her affair, even her boss, taking a new job to start fresh. It's not perfect, but it's progress. The kids still don't know, and we're keeping it that way. Sarah's family remains in the dark, though she's terrified they'll find out. I've told my sister, who's been a lifeline, checking in when I need to vent. I'm not the same man I was a year ago. I'm stronger in some ways, more fragile in others. But I'm choosing to stay, not out of weakness, but because I believe in the love we've built, flawed as it is. The months after Vermont were a grind, a slow climb out of the abyss. Counseling became our anchor, a place to unpack the pain without judgment. Our therapist, Dr. Ellis, had a way of asking questions that cut to the core. "What do you want this marriage to be?" she asked me one session. I fumbled for an answer, torn between the past I cherished and the future I couldn't picture. Sarah, sitting beside me, gripped my hand. "I want us to be us again," she said, her voice steady. "But better. Stronger." I wanted that too, but the path felt treacherous. At home, we worked to rebuild routines. We cooked together, something we'd always loved but had let slip. Chopping vegetables side by side, the clink of knives against the cutting board, felt like a small victory. We started a weekly date night, nothing fancy, sometimes just a walk along the harbor, watching the boats bob in the moonlight. These moments reminded me of who we were, but they couldn't erase the shadow of Tom. I'd catch myself wondering if she was thinking of him, if she missed the thrill. I hated that doubt, but it was part of me now. Sarah was trying, I could see it. She'd leave her phone on the counter, screen up, an unspoken gesture of transparency. She'd check in during the day, small texts about her new job at a local nonprofit, or a funny story about a coworker. But trust is a fragile thing, and every now and then, I'd feel it waver. One night, she mentioned a new colleague, a man named David, who'd been helping her settle in. She said it casually, but my stomach clenched. "Is he like Tom?" I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. She looked at me, her eyes soft but firm. "No one is like Tom," she said. "And I don't want that. I want you." It was the reassurance I needed, but it didn't stop the fear entirely. Christmas came, our first since the affair came to light. We hosted, as always, filling the house with Sarah's parents, her brother, and his kids. The chaos of family was a welcome distraction, but it also amplified the stakes. Sarah was terrified her family would sense something was wrong, and I caught her watching me, as if afraid I'd let something slip. I didn't. I played my part, laughing at her dad's bad jokes, helping her mom with the dishes. But beneath the surface, I was raw. Every smile felt like a lie, every touch a reminder of what we were hiding. After the holidays, I started individual therapy alongside our couples sessions. Dr. Ellis recommended it, saying I needed a space to process my own pain. My therapist, a gruff older man named Paul, didn't coddle me. "You're carrying a lot of shame," he said one session. "Why do you think you're not enough?" The question hit hard. I'd always seen myself as steady, dependable, the guy who showed up. But Tom's shadow made me question everything. Paul helped me see that Sarah's choices weren't a reflection of my worth, but it was a slow unraveling. I'd spent so long tying my identity to her, to us, that I'd forgotten who I was alone. Sarah, too, started individual therapy. She didn't share much at first, but over time, she opened up. She was grappling with why she'd let herself fall into the affair, why she chased something so destructive. I felt invisible, she told me one night, sitting on our porch, the air sharp with winter. Not to you, but to myself. I didn't know who I was anymore. It wasn't an excuse, but it was an explanation, and it helped me understand her a little better. She was rebuilding too, not just our marriage, but herself. Our kids, now 15 and 17, started to notice the tension. Our daughter, Lily, asked one night why we seemed weird. I froze, but Sarah stepped in, smooth as ever. We're just working through some grown-up stuff, she said, ruffling Lily's hair. Nothing to worry about. Lily didn't push, but I could see the wheels turning. Our son, Ethan, was quieter, but I caught him watching us, his brow furrowed. We'd shielded them from the truth, but kids are perceptive. I hated that our pain was seeping into their world. Spring brought new challenges. Sarah's new job meant longer hours, and I found myself alone more often. The solitude was both a relief and a curse. I'd walk the beach near our house, the same stretch where Sarah and Tom had their first encounter. The waves crashing against the rocks felt like my anger, relentless and unyielding. I started writing in a journal, something Paul suggested. At first, it felt silly, but it became a lifeline. I poured out my rage, my fear, my love for Sarah. It was a place to be honest, even when I couldn't be with her. One entry, written in March, captured the heart of it. I love her, but I hate what she did. I want to trust her, but I'm terrified. I want to be enough, but I don't know if I am. I'm staying because I believe in us, but what if I'm wrong? Reading it back, I realized how far I'd come, but also how far I had to go. The pain wasn't gone, but it was less sharp, more like a dull ache. Sarah and I hit a rough patch in April. A misunderstanding. She'd stayed late at work, forgot to text, and I spiraled. When she got home, I was cold, distant. You could have called, I said, my voice tight. She apologized, but I saw the frustration in her eyes. I'm trying, she said. I'm doing everything I can. We argued, not loudly, but with the kind of quiet intensity that cuts deeper. It was our first real fight since Vermont, and it scared me. Were we slipping backward? Dr. Ellis helped us unpack it. You're both grieving, she said. You're grieving the marriage you thought you had, and that takes time. She gave us tools, check-ins, honest communication, even a silly exercise where we wrote letters to each other but didn't share them. I wrote mine late one night, the house silent. Dear Sarah, I'm still here because I love you. But I'm scared. I need you to show me you're all in, every day. I need to know I'm enough. I never showed her, but writing it clarified what I needed. Sarah's letter, which she did share, broke my heart. I hate who I became last year. I hate that I hurt you. I'm fighting for us, but I'm also fighting for me, to be someone you can trust again. I love you, always. It wasn't a cure, but it was a reminder. We were both trying, both flawed, both human. By summer, we were finding a new rhythm. We took the kids on a road trip to Nova Scotia, a place we'd always talked about visiting. The open road, the laughter, the bickering over directions, it felt like a glimpse of what we could be. Sarah and I stole moments alone, holding hands on a ferry, watching the sunset over the Bay of Fundy. We made love in a tiny B&B, and for the first time, I didn't think of Tom. It was just us, raw and real. But healing isn't linear. In August, I got a call from a mutual friend, someone who worked with Sarah at her old job. I heard about Tom, she said, her voice hesitant. I'm so sorry. My blood ran cold. How did she know? Had Sarah told someone? I confronted her that night, my heart racing. She swore she hadn't said a word, that maybe Tom's wife had found out, that rumors were spreading. It was a gut punch, the idea that our private pain was becoming public. Sarah was devastated, terrified her family would hear. I was angry, but not at her, not entirely. We were in this together, and that realization steadied me. We doubled down in therapy, working on boundaries, on how to handle the fallout if the truth spread further. Sarah reached out to her old boss, confirming he never told anyone about the cabin. It was a dead end, but it eased her mind. I started to let go of the need to control the narrative. We couldn't undo the past, but we could shape the future. As fall approached, our 26th anniversary loomed. We decided to return to Vermont, to the same inn, a symbolic gesture. This time, the drive was different. We talked, laughed, even sang along to our old playlist. The inn felt familiar, but we were different, stronger, more honest. We hiked the same trail, and when Sarah tripped, I caught her, our laughter echoing through the trees. We made love every night, not out of obligation, but because we wanted to. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Back home, life settled into a new normal. Sarah's job was going well, and she was thriving in ways I hadn't seen in years. I took up painting, something I'd loved as a kid but abandoned. It was a way to reconnect with myself, to find joy outside of us. The kids were growing up, Lily applying to colleges, Ethan getting his driver's license. We were a family, flawed but resilient. The rumors never spread further, thank God. Sarah's family still doesn't know, and we've decided to keep it that way. My sister remains my confidant, and I've started opening up to a close friend, someone who listens without judgment. It's helped, having a small circle I can trust. Our sex life is better than it's been in years. Not because I'm trying to be someone I'm not, but because we're honest about what we want. I'm still gentle, but I'm also learning to let go, to be present. Sarah's more vulnerable, more open. It's not about competing with the past, but about building something new. Trust is still a work in progress. Some days I check her phone, not because I want to, but because the fear creeps in. She knows, and she doesn't hide. I'm here, she says, and I believe her, most of the time. Dr. Ellis says trust is like a house, you rebuild it brick by brick, and it's never the same, but it can be stronger. I hold on to that. The logical end isn't a fairy tale. We're not fixed. There are still moments when I see Sarah and feel a pang of loss, a reminder of what we almost lost. But there are more moments now when I see her and feel hope. We're not the kids we were at 16, promising forever in a haze of young love. We're two people, scarred and resilient, choosing each other every day. I've learned that love isn't just a feeling, it's a decision, a commitment to show up, even when it hurts. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive, but I've forgiven enough to move forward. Sarah's not perfect, and neither am I. But we're here, building a new chapter, one that honors the past but isn't bound by it. Our marriage is a work in progress, a canvas we're painting together, stroke by stroke. And for now, that's enough.